Hey everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel, and today I'm super excited to be sharing with you all the books that I want to read during the month of October. Alright, so we have entered into my favorite time of year to read. I absolutely love to just cozy up with a good thriller, some dark academia, and of course I do read these kinds of books all throughout the year, but there is something about just reading them during the fall season. And I do have quite the stack of books in front of me. I did pick out 10 books, but I think I actually can get to them all this month because even though some of these are quite thick, I have balanced them out with some quicker YA reads. And I've been looking at all of these books for a while on the shelf, just waiting for this time of year. So I don't think this is going to be a month where I'm struggling to pick up a book. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I won't talk too much about this one. If you've been watching my channel for a while, since the summer, you know that I am in the middle of the Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith. This is the 5th book in the series. It's called Troubled Blood, and as you can see, I only paid $5 for this honking hardback. I have been collecting these books just at library sales and thrift stores. But this is a thick one. I think it is about 900 pages. But once I get into these Cormoran Strike books, I feel like I just get really sucked in and I do end up reading them decently quickly. Next, we have a book that I cannot believe I have not read yet. I've had it for probably about a year or so, and I've just been waiting for the right moment to read it. And this month is the right moment, and that book is Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. And it just is super surprising that I haven't read this yet because I have read a lot of Kristen Hanna's books, especially her historical fiction ones. And I feel like this is one of the most successful historical fiction books that have come out in recent years. This has actually been out since 2015. So yeah, totally shocking that I have not read it yet, but I am very much expecting 5 stars from this book. But in case you have not read this one yet, it is a World War II story. It looks like it's set in France in 1939, and we are going to be following 2 sisters, it looks like, and how they rebelled against the Nazis. So expecting this to be a bit depressing, but probably very, very good. And of course, since it's October, we have to read some Stephen King. So I've been eyeing this one for a while, but I knew this would be the right month to read it. This one is The Institute. I think a lot of Stephen King is just a little bit too dark, a little bit too gory for me, but this seems like it'll be a really good, kind of more suspenseful, thrillerish read. So this says, in the middle of the night, intruders silently murder young Luke Ellis's parents and steal him away from his suburban Minneapolis home. He wakes up in a faraway room that looks just like his own, except there's no window. And outside his door are several other doors behind which are several other kids with very special abilities. And it sounds like some of these kids are starting to disappear, so Luke is becoming desperate, trying to figure out a way to get out. So this sounds super interesting to me. I think this is going to be a really good read, and I've only read one of Stephen King's books so far. I read Fairy Tale, I think this time last year, and I was very, very impressed with his writing style, and that was definitely one of my favorite reads of 2023. Now let's go to a YA book. I've been really excited to read this one too. This is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and this is part of a YA thriller series. I think there are 3 books in the original series. It's a trilogy, and then there are 2 other books that I think follow the same character but take place maybe 5-10 years later. But I really do like reading YA thrillers. They definitely feel a lot different than adult thrillers, but I kind of like that in some ways. The writing is usually a lot simpler. I kind of fly through the books, but I'm usually very engrossed in them and I enjoy them overall. So if you are looking for some good YA thriller authors, I do really like Holly Jackson as well as Karen McManus. I am going to be reading some Karen McManus this month, but I am excited to start reading from a new YA thriller author. But I love the setting of this. It says Ellingham Academy is a famous private school in Vermont founded by an early 20th century tycoon for the best and brightest students around. When Ellingham's wife and daughter were kidnapped, the only clue was a mocking riddle listing methods of murder, signed with the frightening pseudonym Truly Devious. Their disappearance became one of the great unsolved crimes in history. Many years later, true crime aficionado Stevie Bell is set to begin her first year at the academy, and she wants to solve the case. So it sounds very reminiscent of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so that's why I think I will really like this one. Next, I'm going to be reading something that is very different for me, and that is a graphic novel. I got this on Book Outlet a while ago, but of course I wanted to wait till fall to read it. And this book is Garlic and the Witch. I've heard so many good things about this graphic novel, and I think that this is a type of book that I could see myself getting into. The pictures look really, really cute and adorable, and I think this is the type of story that will definitely get me into the fall, October, Halloween spirit without being super dark. It sounds so cute. It says, Garlic loves spending time with Witch Agnes, Carrot, and her new friend, the vampire she calls Count. But the ingredient Witch Agnes needs to brew Count a vegetarian blood substitute can only be found at the magic market far from the valley. Before she knows it, Garlic finds herself on a journey. But Garlic is experiencing another change too. Finger by finger, she appears to be turning human. And it does say actually that this is a companion novel to Garlic and the Vampire. So hopefully I didn't need to read that one first, but I think this sounds like such a cute book. And since I have so many thick books on my TBR this month, I think it'll be so nice to take a breather in between them and just sit down one afternoon and read through this whole book. But let me know if you are someone who reads graphic novels, if you have any cozy favorites that you think would be good for like this time of year or for winter. Super pumped to read this next one. I did find this at a library sale for just like $1. And this is Shirley Johnson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. And it's interesting because this is not a recent book at all. It was first published in the US in 1962, but for some reason over the last couple years I feel like I have seen a lot of people talking about this, reading this book. This is another pretty short one, so I'll probably just sit down and read this in one sitting. And it says, my name is Mary Catherine Blackwood. I am 18 years old and I live with my sister Constance. I have often thought that with any luck at all, I could have been born a werewolf because the 2 middle fingers on both my hands are the same length, but I've had to be content with what I had. I like my sister Constance and Richard Plantagenet. Everyone else in my family is dead. So I like that the blurb doesn't give too much away, but I'm definitely intrigued, and since I have heard so much good stuff about this book, this could definitely be 5 stars. Then I do think I will just go ahead and read this entire trilogy if I have time, of course. So this is the One of Us is Lying trilogy from Ms. Karen McManus, who I mentioned earlier. I did actually read the first book, One of Us is Lying, a while ago. I think maybe like when it first came out, but I forget a lot of it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and reread this one before I get to the other 2. But I do remember I like this book a lot. It's kind of like Breakfast Club meets thriller vibes. So there's this group of high school students, I believe, who meet in detention, and just like the Breakfast Club, they're all very different. They are people who would not normally be in the same friend group. They would not normally interact outside of detention. But one of them, very early on in the book, ends up dead in detention. So the rest of them are trying to figure out what happened. So that's the first book, and then the other 2 books in the series, I'm assuming, are also following some of the same characters, maybe as they investigate other murders, other crimes. But Karen McManus's books, like a lot of YA books, like a lot of YA thrillers especially, they are really quick reads. So if I have like a slow weekend this month, I think I probably will just totally binge this series. And then lastly, we actually have a middle grade book, and this is The Thickety, The Whispering Trees. I did read the first book in the Thickety series, I think 2 months ago, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot better than I was expecting, and I do have all 4 of the books. I just got them at the same time at like a used bookstore, and the series is definitely very autumnal, very good to read this time of year. The book is not set in Salem, it's not supposed to be based on that, but it very much gives like Salem witch trial vibes. The main character, Kara, is a teenager, maybe an early teenager, and she discovers in the first book that she does have some magical powers. So I don't want to spoil that one too much, but that's kind of the vibe. And I think this second book is going to pick up right where the first one left off. So yeah, 4 books total in the series. I am going to try to read the whole series before the end of the fall season. So probably just the second one this month, but then in November, hopefully I'll be able to read the 3rd and 4th. I'm trying to be a lot better about not letting a lot of time go in between books in a series if they all are out, obviously. If I let like a year plus go by in between 2 books in a series, I feel like it's just not as good of a reading experience. But alright everybody, those are all the books that I'm hoping to read during the month of October. Like I said, this is my favorite time of year to read, I would say, like fall and winter. Perfect time of year to cozy up with a book, so do let me know what books you are planning on reading during not only October, but just the fall season in general. And if you like this video, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe. It really does help my channel out a lot. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!